Welcome to Big Blend Radio, where we celebrate variety and how it adds spice to quality of life. So, everyone's so excited today on our Big Blend Radio Success Express show, which is also going to be duplicated over to our Toast of the Art show. We have Jen Vance from Books Forward. Now, Books Forward is an incredible PR, literary, and marketing company that we have been working with since the beginning times with the founder, Julie Shirky. And Jen has been, I've been connecting with her for how many years? I don't know, but it feels like a long time. But Books Forward is celebrating 25 years this year. They're a quarter of a century, y'all. I can say y'all because we're in Georgia right now. And Jen isn't, you're just up the road from us, right?
Right, literally like an hour away from you.
Yeah, I could take one of the golf carts here in Peachtree City and start getting over
Drive
there.
it up.
I know. We just did a bootleggers, a show on bootlegging, running, and and moonshining. Well, because it was bootlegger day, and we have to celebrate, and so
Exactly.
um we did this like, hey, we're really all going on a virtual run, and so we went to meet people on the route. As we're running, we went through Georgia, and off we go. And I'm like, we're starting in a golf cart, and the next person has like, we have this, but we're golf karting. We went on speedboats, we did all kinds of things, but it was fun. You got to celebrate. I mean, that's part of marketing for you guys too. You
Yes.
look at all, you guys kick butt in the department of, hey, it's this day and these books match to this. Did you start that?
I actually just kind of transferred the social media power. We have a great like social media team, and like part of the great thing about our team, besides the fact that a lot of us are journalists, like I'm a former journalist. I
Mhm.
used to work, at a
Yeah,
newspaper.
newspaper land. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but like a lot of us are also, social media influencers and that kind of thing. So everyone like kind of lives in that space. But yeah, over the past, 5, 6, 7 years, as social media has just become such an important thing. And I think, authors realize that as well. They see how important it is to have like a presence on social media, that also has to reflect on our own
Mm.
social media. But yeah, we have a great team of digital strategists, and a social media manager who is constantly coming up with fun ideas. Um, I sometimes, like when you're just kind of your brain is dead after a long day, and you're like, I can't do any real work. It's like, I'm just gonna make memes. Like that's what I want to do is I want to make fun memes for social media.
Oh,
Um,
that's dangerous. I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed, especially right now. No. No.
but it is, yeah, it's nice to be creative, and it is a great way to set yourself apart and to just kind of break things up because there is just so much out there.
Mhm.
But yeah, we have such a great team, and like I said, there are people who do this and they have been doing it for a long time. And you have to have fun with it, you
Yeah,
don't want it to feel like a chore, because the moment it
no.
feels like a chore, you're just not going to do it, or
And
people
you
are going
know
to be
what?
able to tell.
I was going to say, they're going to know that you're just putting it out there and just doing what you're supposed to do.
Hmm.
And social media for authors, I think, is fantastic because I know we've been, doing podcasts and book reviews is where I think it really started with us and Books Forward or JKS Communications in the
Yeah.
day. But, and we want to talk about what you all do. But, social media, not all authors want to do podcasts or even do the TV stuff. They're like, leave me behind, with my
Right.
computer, and maybe I'll even be doing it on a typewriter. But so social media is a way where they still can connect if they don't want to have to be personally like on, you don't have to be the influencer.
Yes, it's a lot easier to say something, behind a screen and not have to bare your soul like in front of a video camera. And I get that,
Hmm.
it and it's easier to plan out what you're going to say. It's why it's easier to like send an email than it is to like hop on the phone with somebody. And so for and some authors, a lot of authors can be more introverted and they want to be able to think about the things they're going to say. And they really do care about their books and their message. And so when they are connecting with readers, and what they want to say in that message, they want to make sure that it's authentic. And so social media is a great place for that.
Mm,
So yeah, and of course, like I said, it's been, it's so different now than it was 10 years ago. And
mm.
just seeing that change, it's so different now than it was 2 weeks ago. Like,
Oh
just
my,
from
we
when
don't
we
know if we're
thought,
gonna have,
like,
look at TikTok.
right.
TikTok's dark now. It may be going light. We don't know. And then there's a lot of people saying if it comes back on, I'm done because I've kind of
Right.
cleansed my, I've got over it now. I know people that went into like a grieving process of TikTok.
Yep.
Like
Yeah, and that's the
seriously.
thing. It's you always have to be on your toes with social media and just anything with the internet. Like that kind of stuff is always changing, it's always evolving, and you have to adapt with it as well, which can be very hard. With authors, the number one thing I hear from authors who are like hesitant to like start social media is like they're like, I just want to write. And I'm like, I get that. You just want to write, like that's why you got in this business. And so to have to learn how to do an Instagram, and then all of a sudden you have to learn how to edit a video, and then all of a sudden you have to make a new account somewhere else. Like it's a lot to keep up with. And
Mm-hmm.
and that's the thing, is you have to keep up with it or you'll fall behind so quickly. And so it can be very overwhelming.
Do you help
Um,
by doing some of the account that stuff for authors? Like if some authors just like, I'm not doing it, I work with some people are just like, I don't want to know. You do this. I don't want to know. I don't want to hear it until like if you really need me for something, just here's the money. Let me go.
yeah, we definitely do help authors with like content creation and things like that, especially when it comes to like making graphics and stuff. Like I
Mm,
come from a design background, so like I love doing that kind of stuff. When it comes to, you know, talking with readers and engaging on the platforms, we do encourage them to do that stuff though, because again, like the more authentic you can be with your readers, even if it's just commenting like on that platform, the more they're going to be able to
mhm.
tell. I really do think readers can tell if it's just like, Joe Schmo from marketing commenting like, thanks for reading, as
Yeah.
opposed to like an author like sending like a genuine response, to a
Mm.
comment or something like that. So we help with like content creation and staying on top of trends and things like that. But we always encourage authors to, engage with readers and that stuff as well. It's definitely like a collaborative, like kind of partnership.
Mm.
But like I said, there's so much to keep track of. So like, I don't want an author to have to like keep all that in their head.
But yeah, it really helps to have, people to bounce ideas off of too. And the thing is,
Hmm.
a lot of the authors may be doing a second book, third book, there's that consistency it's a necessity, right? Or
Yeah.
if you're a one hit wonder, that's fine too. But if you don't keep some kind of presence, you're gonna fall out of people's scope. And so you may write a book once a year, which is actually a lot,
Right.
depending on who you are and what
Yeah.
you're doing. And then there's a whole publishing thing, but I love to see authors say, hey, I was just twiddling with this idea, or, it's like, oh, it's this, bootleggers day. And hey, actually we did do an interview from one of your authors on bootlegging and moonshining. But
I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, yeah. So, it's that you can't just let it go, even though you may have a year or 2 years in between, and just go, hey, my book's on sale. If that's all you're doing, people are going to just click off.
Right, exactly. You can't just ask people to buy and review, because yeah, you're trying to build readership and fans. And when I think of, authors or just, general like artists that I'm a fan of, it's those people that we have like those parasocial relationships with, right? It's
Mm,
people that I feel connected to, and it's not people that I feel or I only hear from once a year, who are like, I have an album coming out, you should buy it. It's people that, I feel like I kind of know them,
mm.
even if I don't,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it's that there's some kind of give and take. I'm receiving some information, or if it's an author, like maybe I'm receiving some kind of bonus content, like maybe I'm receiving, like a sneak peek or something. Maybe I'm just receiving a picture of their dog. That's more than enough for me.
hey, bring the animals, cute kittens and dogs, Well,
Yes.
but that some kind of that's personal, but you don't have to be over personal, you
Hmm.
just I don't have to talk about facelifts because people know that hasn't happened and won't. But you but you know what I mean? It's you have to have that give and take with everyone. But um, the other thing too, you mentioned reviews. That's so important. So
Hmm.
for new authors, I think that you guys got to be awesome for new authors coming on board that are just like, dude, there's this whole thing. I thought I wrote a book, which was this mountain, and then like, what do you mean the marketing mountain? What's that? And then it's like, oh, okay, reviews. That's got to be massive. And some of the things, authors are always asking us, and I'm like, dude, Amazon, if we travel, so we're not actually, we are the most minimalist people because we travel full time.
Hmm.
And so I'm like, I don't really buy much on Amazon ever. And then Amazon won't let us do reviews. So I just opened a Goodreads. And then I found out an
Hmm.
author, this was not through you, an author is a friend. And I said to her, your book's not on Goodreads. So,
Hmm.
and I said, she says, yeah, well, can't you have a friend write a review for you on Amazon? I'm like, no,
No.
no, no. And you don't want that. That's where people, these whole, okay, so can we just talk about the authentic review? And is Goodreads a good space? Because not everybody even wants to buy from the big A. There's bookshop.org, which I think is fantastic, but that's a whole different world too. So would you say Goodreads is a good place to go? Because I got to get going on it, and I want to know if I'm doing the right thing.
Goodreads. So in terms of like where people leave reviews, like like a retailer site. So, and that can be Amazon, that could be Barnes and Noble, that could be, Audible, like any place like that. Like, so retailer sites like that are great places to leave reviews. But other like review sites like Goodreads, I don't know if you've heard of Storygraph, um, Fable. There's so many like reader review sites like that as well. Goodreads is the largest by far.
Okay.
But it is also connected to Amazon. So people have a lot of thoughts about that because, Amazon
Oh,
owns Goodreads. So it is the largest. And that's why we do kind of have to say, like, yes, your book should be on there because it's where the largest audience is. Um, but we have been pushing like Storygraph and making sure your book is on Storygraph. Like I use Goodreads, Storygraph, and Fable. So if I'm like
okay.
reading a book, I'm putting that book on all three of those, and then I'm like
Okay.
updating on all three of those. So and again, there are so many more. Um, but yeah, Goodreads I'd say is a big one. With Amazon, the thing is, and like you mentioned, like the authenticity of reviews is they their system, their algorithm, their magic, algorithm, it knows. Don't ask me how. It knows. It knows by accounts. Who has purchased a book. If you haven't purchased a book, like when you're reviewing. So even like sometimes if you've received an ARC and you're like leaving a review for
Mhm.
a book, sometimes it will take that review down, which can be really
Yeah.
disconcerting. And so it is difficult to get those reviews on Amazon. And that's it can be hard to build up reviews. That's why sometimes you'll see too way more reviews on Goodreads than on Amazon.
Okay.
Because Goodreads doesn't like kick off those like ARC reviews and stuff like that. Um, because it doesn't
Okay.
have like that algorithm going through
Can
and
you
just
do
like
Google?
axing.
Like as a travel, like I do Google reviews now a little bit here and there. And then it's like, oh wait, she did pig out at this restaurant 10 times. No, but she did go get that moonshine. It shouldn't even be listed on there. No, I'm kidding. But could you do Google or Facebook or anything like that? Does that help? Or should we really stick to just the book things? And how important is it really for an author with reviews?
There is a Google Books option. I think like if you're leaving a review on Facebook or even Twitter or Instagram or whatever, I think the best thing to do is just making sure that you're leaving like the name of the book and the name of the author like within the text,
Okay.
because that helps with SEO, right? So like if someone's searching on Google or wherever, that helps, that
Okay.
comes up in the search engine, right? So someone's like searching, Jane
Mhm.
Eyre. I don't know why I picked that book.
Why
And
not?
someone's reviewed it on Instagram, and they put that like in the body copy, that's going to come up.
And the
Um,
author could use that too. Then say, hey, so
yes,
and so on here said
yes,
this. Okay.
yeah. So yeah, and the same thing with like Facebook and Twitter, like all those kinds of things, making sure that it's within like the text of something, because
Okay.
sometimes people will leave a review like within the image, and that won't necessarily come up in a
Yeah.
search.
Okay. Good, good, good. Yeah. Always put the text. And then
Mhm.
it's important to do the alternate text.
Yes.
If you're going to do an image, that helps with SEO too. And we're all bad at it. Maybe you guys
Yes.
aren't, but it's that extra step that helps people, if you've got, especially, visually impaired people, they really
Mhm.
do want that help. And I want to get into audiobooks on that level too. But let's go back the reviews, how important for authors. When we look at 2025, um, do you tell your authors get as many reviews, or, can even the bad reviews help you?
So I tell every author, because you're gonna get bad reviews, right? You're never gonna have 100% A plus 5 stars, 10 out of 10. It's just not feasible. I can look at my favorite books and someone has given it a bad review, someone's given it 1 star. That's just the fact of the matter, and that not every book is for every person.
Mm,
So I think in the beginning, when you write a book, you have got to just accept that, and you've
mm.
got to just kind of let that go whenever you put the book out there, whenever you publish it, and just know that it's going to happen. It's going to be
Okay.
okay. um, and it does lend some authenticity and some credibility to the book. If someone, looks at your Goodreads listing and they see 15 5-star reviews, to me, that kind of makes me think it's just this author's friends that have read and reviewed the book and gave it 5 stars. So
Yeah.
I don't know who else has read this book, but I'm going to say it's just this author's friends. So I don't discount like negative reviews. There's also can be some really valid critiques that,
Mm,
especially if you're writing in the future, you might want to take into account. You know, there is you might have a fan who's like, I really liked this book. I hope this author might do this in the future, and it might be something that you could implement. So don't discount like things, like negative things and reviews either, because it can be really helpful to consider. I'm not like a book editor or a writer, so uh,
mm.
I'm gonna like I'm gonna keep that point there. But negative reviews happen, but reviews in general are really, really helpful, especially for indie authors. And they're going to
Mm,
be just a lot harder to get, if you're not traditionally published and you don't have the ad dollars and the marketing dollars
mm,
going toward, what a traditionally published author is getting. It's just harder. Um,
mm.
and even, a lot of traditionally published books we're seeing nowadays that aren't like front list titles aren't getting the same kind of marketing. Um,
You're right.
we work with a lot of traditionally published authors who
Hmm.
are coming to us because, the in-house teams just don't have the bandwidth to, spread
Yeah.
across all their titles. Um,
Mm.
so it's just there's
And they
so many
change up
books
a lot.
published a year,
I
you
kind of
know?
I kind of got to a point of stopping to work with some of the, like, all the major houses I've worked with, and they make so many changes and so many staff changes. You'd be in the middle of something and then they're gone and then they're gone. And it's like, I got to this point of getting tired of saying, okay, this is who we are and this is why you know what? I don't work for you. Just I got to a point of, like, it got on the podcasting side and in what we do, it seems that they were getting it's just difficult, actually,
Mhm.
until you work with.
Yeah.
I love working with Books Forward because we've built a relationship, and it's just like we all know what we're doing, we just get on with it. It is just like
And
there's
none of
no.
us are going anywhere. We're literally
No,
staying
you
for the
guys.
rest of our
Oh my gosh,
lives.
I know you guys are like, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I really was excited to do this because I'm like, "Man, you guys, you're 25, and we've been with you all through this entire journey of change,
Mhm.
and it's exciting because you really pull in fantastic authors, and that's something I remember in the beginning, Julie being really, um, just was a big deal to her that the authors were good, that she wasn't
Mhm.
representing someone who didn't do the actual extra work they needed to do to make the book really tick. Just because you have
Yeah.
a great idea and maybe you didn't know how to write it well, and if you didn't have an editor, she wouldn't. I remember these really hardcore rules she had, and I think it stuck throughout because I don't ever remember having an author where I just thought it was complete, like it wasn't believable or good or professional. Everything's been good. Like, how do you
Thank
do
you.
that? Do you tell people no? Like, it seems like they also have to connect with that there's a moral compass that everybody has to connect on. It has to have that same, you know,
Definitely. I mean, so I love that you said that because it just goes to show that like books that are indie published, small press, self-published, that there are like quality books out there. And that like they shouldn't be discounted just because they're not, one of the big five, four,
yeah,
three,
yeah.
however many big presses we have now. Um, we do get a lot of queries. We get so many. And we do look through every single one.
Wow.
Um, which is, a lot. We have a team, like I'm part of the team that we're going through every single one. And some of them aren't good fits for different reasons. Sometimes it's timeline, sometimes it's budget, sometimes it is subject matter, or, it can be a lot of different things. We do try and work if we feel really passionate about, a book and an author, we will do like whatever we can,
Okay.
to try and work with that book and with that author. But yeah, we just, with sheer volume, we do have to say no. We do try and provide, resources. We have a blog that we have, a ton of
Oh,
resources and stuff.
yeah.
Um, and so we do try and provide resources and advice and help. It sucks. It sucks having to say no. But just, yeah, by number we do, but it is a good, I am very grateful to like sit and see like every query that comes through, because there are a lot of people and a lot of writers who are putting a lot of time into the stories that they're writing, and who really
Hmm.
do care. Like you can see, in their queries, you know, the stuff that they're saying about the book and how long they've spent writing it and their plans and their expectations and goals and stuff. Um,
Some
so
went to college for it, like
yeah.
retire from something and go take courses and go to college and say, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this 100%. That's what I've seen.
Yeah.
And I don't know
Yes.
what's going on, but you got a lot of lawyers, man. And they write some crazy stuff. I think they see so much in the fine print.
Lawyers have seen a lot.
They have seen a lot, and I love interviewing them, but they know how to write a good letter. Nobody wants the lawyer's letter in the mail because oh boy, here it comes. Now that I've said that, uh-oh. No, touch wood, quick. But they know how to write a good letter, because they
Yes.
want everything to stop at that letter. And so
Yes.
there's something really fascinating about that. And I've seen a lot of lawyers come through, books. I was going to say JKS because we're talking about the history, Books Forward, which is, it's fascinating. But you also deal with, nonfiction as well, which
Mhm.
is also really cool. And I think they talk about that for someone who's an expert and in a professional capacity, that a book can be one of your biggest business cards. Do we even have business
Mhm.
cards anymore? I don't know. It's like here,
I love my business cards so much.
mm.
And maybe
Well,
it's
you do all
just,
the shows and everything too.
yeah, maybe it's just something I feel so professional, like handing it to someone when I'm out, like at a conference or something. And
Mm.
I love getting business cards. I don't know. I'm like a little business card gremlin.
You're looking at all the art. You're going like, oh, they need to change this over here. Wrong colors.
It's also very helpful just to remember people's names.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, no, we've truly worked in every single genre. I don't think there's a genre that we have not worked in. Um, Nonfiction, literally within every facet, not just memoirs, but like academic, science. Like I cannot think of a genre that we have not worked within. But like thought leadership and like business and all these kinds of things are so big nowadays. I've seen a lot of authors writing books to kind of, to your point, kind of add that to their arsenal of how can I sell myself? And so a book is a product to them, and it's not their main product, which I think for some authors it is. But for a lot of like nonfiction authors, it's just one piece of their arsenal. And maybe they're using it to get speaking gigs or, other things, or maybe they're using it to fund a podcast or things
Right.
like that. But we're definitely seeing a lot more of that. And again, like the more that technology is on the rise and social media and things like that, and influencers and stuff, I think we'll only kind of continue to see that build.
What are you seeing for 2025 in regards to the actual form of content? When we still have print books and some people are diehards. I love print books, but it's really hard to keep. I'm going to call you up and say, y'all, can you just send me big boxes as we travel and we'll like put it on the roof of the car? Now, so it's, so there's digital, obviously digital downloads. I mean, that's what you see all over. Everyone's talking about. And what's scary to me is I've seen commercials of people go, oh, I just go on AI and tell it what to write for a children's book and then toss it up on Amazon and make
Yeah.
thousands of dollars. And I want to slap them, honestly, because
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but if you're going to try and, make money off of a child's mind and not really put the thought, but I know that actually putting a children's book together is probably one of the hardest things to do.
Yes,
It is
definitely.
really difficult, and you have to have the right illustration, not just something, oh, I just went on Canva and threw a bunny in.
Hmm.
Um, and then I made thousands of dollars. You can do this as a side hustle. Shut up. No, you can't. Maybe you can, but you know what I mean? It's so degrading to whenever I see one of these, I
Yeah.
like everything in me just kind of gets a little because we got AI, which is a tool, but you don't, please don't. So we see that and this whole digital download world. So books and then there's audiobooks, right? And
Hmm.
so and then what we're seeing is this, immersion of digital books with, links and everything and videos, and I'm now seeing graphic novels that move. And so do you think we're going into this whole world where like authors could pretty much almost put their own movie together at this point, which could be cool, but it's expensive, right? So that's still a huge project, but I see things really changing up.
Definitely. I mean, ebooks are still like leaders. Print books are never going to go away. I
Good.
think that's important to say, at least, in the near future. Um, they're never going to go away, but ebooks are going to be big. Audiobooks are continuing to grow. Publishers have realized that it's a great like money maker for their backlist titles, and they've got really long backlists. And I love an audiobook,
Yeah.
especially for a nonfiction title. I love someone in my ear reading an essay while I'm cooking dinner.
Or
So
driving across Texas.
yes. So like those like digital mediums, they are really popular. And I think we are kind of seeing, you know, kind of the, like you were saying, the more creative, the more innovative books. Like I've worked with a couple musical audiobooks. I've worked with
Yeah,
like a
like Hannah's.
completely,
Yeah.
yes, like I've
Hmm.
worked with a completely web-based digital book. And I think you're seeing more of that to kind of combat just how many books there are. You've got to be able to stand out in some way. Um, and especially because everyone's in their phones or on their computer nowadays, you've got to meet people in the medium where they're at. And just so often it's
That's
not
good point there. Yeah.
physically.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
so I think that's why you're seeing more and more of that like innovativeness. I'll have to say, like, as far as AI, it's very scary and it's very frustrating. I think personally, I'm not like particularly worried about it. Like, as someone who I don't know, just as a reader, I don't
Hmm.
want to read something AI created. And I think, at least for
You'll
now,
know.
I want to read something that's made by a human. And I think that is how we differentiate art from most everything else, is that it is made by humans. And so I think for now, I think that is how most people feel. Um, which is not to say that there won't be people who try to game the system and, make a quick buck. Um, but I think that's
I
how a
just
lot of people feel.
I think that's why it's so important to have the marketing presence
Mhm.
that's genuine, right? Because if you don't have that, and like now Facebook could get wonky. People are bailing Facebook, people are bailing Twitter, and we have Blue Sky. So this shift is normal, it is. And so you, like you're saying, meet people where they are, but do it
Mhm.
where it's something. I mean, you don't have to be on everything. Like, sometimes I look and go like, how many places do I have to do
Right.
this? So kind of think of what's good for you, but also don't think it's the be all end all, because it could shift in 2 weeks, right? And
Right.
anything can happen. I still miss MySpace, darn it. you know, Come on. And
Same.
we had an instant friend. Come on, whenever, so I do. I did miss that. So
I learned how to code for that. I literally learned how to code for MySpace.
come on, it was fun, but things change. So I'm looking at like the importance of meeting people, and I'm wondering now. I tell everybody, all the writers on our shows and everything, that are, they do. We work with a lot of travel writers, and they do so much on Instagram. And they're like, "Well, I'm going to get off of Facebook." I'm like, it's connected to Instagram, right? And
Right.
so I'm like, "Well, it's like you telling me, well, Goodreads is owned by Amazon." So it's like,
Yeah.
no matter how you look at it, like we're not escaping the big giant entities. So we just have to learn how to work around it. But I tell everyone, the most important thing you can do is an email newsletter, because it's from you directly to those
Mhm.
people. And especially, and you don't just start putting people on it unless you've met them at a conference, or you've had a conversation, or it has to be genuine. Like I put your authors that come on shows in there because
Mhm.
I want them to see, hey, yeah, you're in our newsletter. But it's a way of saying it's a really nice way of being personable. And if you have book events, you can put it in. If you do have a Kindle sale going on or whatever, you can. But I feel like email marketing is going to start to go even further up with all these changes. What do you think?
Right. And I think we've seen, Substack grow. And I think
Hmm.
because of that as well, it's more personable. I tell authors, your email subscribers are probably your most dedicated fans. Like anyone
Hmm.
can follow someone on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever. But for someone to subscribe to your email list and continuously open your newsletter and not delete it and not unsubscribe, like that's a dedicated person. Because
Hmm.
I get a lot of email lists and I unsubscribe from a lot of email lists. And so for me to not unsubscribe, like that means I'm genuinely invested in whichever
Hmm.
it is that I'm getting. So to know that, like, even if it's 100 people on your email list, that's 100 readers that are genuinely invested in what you have to say, whether it's once a month, twice a month, 4 times a year, whatever. And that's really valuable.
Hmm.
So yeah, I agree. I think it's great. It's a lot of work to start up with, and it can be overwhelming trying to think of, how do I find people? What kind of content do I do? And, where do I start? And how do I sign people up and all that kind of stuff? And it's just like everything, you've got to start like bit by bit.
Hmm.
And I tell everyone to make a list because I'm a list maker. But you've got to start off with little bite-sized portions and like work your way from there. Because yeah, it can be really valuable. Substack, like I said, is kind of great if you are looking for something that's more manageable. Um, to get people who can easily sign up and you don't have to manage like an actual email list and like designing and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think we're only going to kind of continue seeing that to grow. That and like meeting people in person. I truly think that the the farther out we get, like the more people are going to desire like human interaction. Which is why we also like I encourage my authors to go meet with your local bookseller, go meet with your local librarian, like go to other author
Oh,
events, you know, that
oh yeah.
are in your area. Like just go out and do things, which can be very scary. Again, it's scary to go and do something new and to meet people, but you know, something about like building that human connection is going to
Mm.
be so much more like lasting in someone's brain than like sending an email, you
Oh,
know? So,
Claire Berger is a great. She went on like this whole massive book tour talking
yes.
about, how much it was, how much do you need, or her book, and then she created a Facebook group, goes around and does this whole signing and events, all kinds of fun things, and it could be that she's just meeting people from your newsletter list. Hey, I'm going to New York City.
Mhm.
Anybody want to meet up for lunch? It's a great way
Yep.
to connect with people directly. Maybe you go to an actual book club and actually
Yep.
sit down with them and have these discussions. And I think especially also if you're nonfiction, man, you can really work
Right.
this. And you want speaking gigs, if you have a book behind you, you're going to get a speaking gig far quicker, right? And so it's
Right.
the same thing. Like I feel that way about podcasting. I think people get so hung up on numbers. Oh, well,
Mhm.
how many of this, how many of that? Like, really, I'm not going to count everything for like, that's not what I do all day. But I do know that, like, the power of podcasting for people, or going to book, anything that is out there, like if you do a, a reel, that reel could be
Mhm.
seen 5 months down the road and gather momentum, and it may
Mhm.
be just a specific niche kind of people. Who cares? Like you could go, if you wrote
Yep.
a book on mushrooms, all right, so maybe everyone at that moment didn't care, maybe 10 people did out of 1,000, but then it starts to snowball. So I always say, like, really don't worry about it, just
Yep.
keep going. I like your bit by bit, because it also allows you to grow with it as an author, or
Mhm.
anybody in, with whatever you're marketing. You get to grow with it and find out what you are good at, you know
Yes, exactly. And what you like to do, because again, you know, I'm someone, if I don't like to do something, it's going to be that much harder to like sit down
hmm
and do it. So
hmm
you have to acknowledge like which things come easier, you know, and which you enjoy more, and which things, you know, you might not enjoy as much, but you have to acknowledge that maybe you need to do, or things like that, and prioritize them in a way that works for you. But yeah, if you come out the gate and you decide, I've got to do every single thing that's on a list I found online for authors who are publishing a book, you'll get burnt out within a week. And then you'll lose any kind of momentum that you
hmm
started with. And it'll be really hard to pick it back up. Which is why, which is why people come to us, because it's a lot easier to spread those tasks among multiple people, than it is with just one person,
yeah.
we're basically like nannies for books, like an author's like the parent of a book. I'm like the book's little nanny, and I'm like taking care of it for certain things, and then I'm like passing it back off, so it's just, it takes a village, truly.
It does. And because you have the relationships built up. Like
Hmm.
if someone's written a historical fiction novel and it's set in a specific thing, you're going to know the outlets that are looking for that kind of content, which is like a direct
Right.
thing. Otherwise, you sit down, now you're going to go, I'm going to start Googling historic newspapers across the,
Right.
oh my God, you could be there. That itself is a whole other
Right.
world.
And authors have jobs, they have lives, they're writing other books. Like, you know, I realize like you have a lot of other things going on. So it's
Mm,
just a lot. It's a lot to do. You have a whole other life outside of this book that you have written. So,
mm. Now, books fluent, that's something we haven't touched on. Can you tell us
yes.
what that's about? Because that's the other arm. Yeah.
Yes. So when 5 years ago, when we kind of did our big rebrand from JKS to Books Forward, we also started our sister company, Books Fluent, which is our self-publishing arm, so to speak, which is really to help authors who are looking to publish their own books, to like a market and an industry standard. So This is for authors who, maybe they're just looking to set up their books on KDP or whatever, but they need to find, editors, line editors, copy editors, proofreaders, book cover designers. They need to figure out how to register their ISBNs, like all those kinds of things. So setting them up with all that, setting them up with distribution, if they want to,
Oh, wow.
have distribution channels outside of someplace like Amazon. So our folks over at Books Fluent do that very fabulously. And it is great a lot of times if, our Fluent authors come over to Forward and we can work on publicity because, then we already have a nice relationship. We already know the book really well. I
That's
do
cool.
when I go to events and authors ask me what to spend their money on, I tell them the book, like first and
Yeah.
foremost, because they always ask me like, oh, marketing, publicity. I'm like, spend it on the book first, like
Hmm.
spend it on editing, spend it on the cover, spend it on beta readers,
Hands
like
down,
whatever you
because
need,
when
do that.
when indie publishing first happened, when it went from being vanity press, right, to indie
Mhm.
publishing, and some people were shy about doing that, and it was like, no, no, if you've got something good, do it.
Yeah.
But I remember getting these books in and just literally wanting to throw them across the room because they were so bad, and you wasted my time reading a bunch of, you didn't even you I remember one book, the guy was driving up the mountain and came back down as a woman and was on the wrong side of the car, like, you know what I mean? So
Just
stuff like that.
basic.
It's not just
Yeah.
grammar and stuff like that. And so I was getting to this point, like, you guys need to, you need, if you heard of an editor, do not send anything to us until it's gone through that. And none of us are perfect. I mean, I don't even talk to me about typos. I didn't do it. I did. I always find it out afterwards. It's like, darn, no, we all have it. But the actual publishing side of it and spending the money on the right book cover, it can save you tons. And that helps you in your marketing, right? Because if it's
Yes.
really like such a killer book,
Yes.
you
Yeah,
got
because
positive
again, you
word
can
of
have
mouth, not
you can have
negative,
the best idea in the world, truly the most innovative, creative idea for a book. But if, someone gets 3 pages in and they can't read it because it's littered with typos, there's like nothing that I can do on my end as a publicist to get someone past that.
Mm,
So yeah, it really is. You've got to take the first step um,
mhm.
to get it to like an industry standard. So yeah, the Fluent team, they help, edit and cover design and all that kind of stuff. Some of it's way over my head and I'm just like, wow, you've like presented me with a book and it's ready. So it
Cool.
sometimes it comes from like literally a word manuscript and then the next time I see it, it's a book. So
That's
it's like
exciting.
magic.
It is. Um, before you go, I wanted to ask you, someone's writing a book now and they know they're going to do the editing path and all of that. When should they start looking at putting up a website or a blog, setting up social media? Because some people think, well, once I've got it written. And I kind of feel like that's how sometimes books never get finished too. So it's almost like I always feel like start now because you may have a following that's interested in your book. That's why I think Nano is so great.
Yeah. I say the earlier the better, truly. Especially because once you get into things like editing the book and all the things like that, suddenly you're doing things with the book and you don't have time for something else. So
Oh, yeah.
even if you've got the website set up and maybe it's not even live yet, but you can just press publish, once it's ready, something like that, I just personally think if someone's looking for you, they need to be able to find you. So if maybe you're querying an agent, they need to be able to find you. So you need to
Mm,
have your website. Um, Same thing with like an editor or something like that. You need to have some kind of presence somewhere. Um, and so the earlier you can do that, the better. And
mm,
like I said, it could be even if you're still writing the book, I just think get it out of the way. And then you can
yeah.
you can always update as you go along. And there's so many, you know, platforms now, website hosts that make it really easy to create a website. It's very user friendly now to create a website, that you should be able to do it by yourself, or, find someone,
Hmm.
who for an affordable amount can help you out. Because yeah,
Yeah.
the sooner the better. People need to be able to find you.
Yeah, at least have that up, get the SEO going, and then get a way to get newsletter signups from there,
Hmm.
or Substack, however you want to do that. But then also turn around and have a platform where people can get to you, connect with you.
Hmm.
You never know, right? You never know who's
Right.
going to find you and what can happen. And also, I think like social media, it's got to help, right? To have a following. Like I know musicians who are like the best of the best, and they just didn't care about, they're just this, like it's all about the music, right? And that's why the
Hmm.
music is fantastic. And then they're like, okay, I need to have another album come out, and you know, they are at this level where somebody else should be doing it, and a really good producer, label. And if they
Hmm.
haven't got their social media going,
Yeah.
they may not get that deal. And is that the
Yeah.
same thing?
Publishers are like that nowadays. Publishers will look at social media. Even I've had podcast hosts that look at social media,
Yep.
and outlets like that that will look at, and if you don't have a certain amount of followers, which again, it doesn't mean that you know, you can't get publicity or promotion or things like that, but it does mean that, especially, consider the genre you're in. Like if you are publishing a business book, and you're trying to get on a business podcast and they are all about getting the word out, you need to kind of consider like who your audience is. But yeah, like so many people nowadays, they're trying to see, how can you help me? How can you help me? Like if you share my content on your platform, is that going to help me?
Mm.
So yeah, you do
Mm.
have to think about things like that. And it's all with the caveat of, I tell every author, don't do something on social media just because I tell you to do it. You know,
Yeah.
Again, if I tell you to do it and you don't want to do it, it's not going to be good.
And be careful about
uh,
what you say on social media too.
yes, yes. Be kind, be polite, follow the golden rule, all those kinds of things. Especially when you're just starting out.
Yeah.
If someone leaves a negative review, don't
Say thank,
comment on it.
or say thank you for taking the time.
To read, exactly. So yeah, just
Yeah.
use common sense and things like that.
Don't be reactive.
Yes,
That's
which is
hard.
hard nowadays.
It's
I
hard. It
get
sucks.
it.
Yeah, it's hard. Oh
I get
man. Well,
it.
Jen, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so
Thank
glad you
you.
did, because 25 years is epic, and we
Ugh.
love, love, love working with Books Forward, you guys. It's like everything you need is there. I don't have to go, and what about this? And what about that? Oh, and this. Do you have their social media? Do you have their website? Do you have it's like here. It's all handed in this beautiful package that there is no, I don't know what, where, and how. It's like, and you make it very easy if like a podcaster is in a rush, that it's there, that it's something you can work off of. And in news media, that is, I mean, podcasting, we get a little more time, but you never know when a story may change or
Mhm.
schedules change, like if you're going on TV or something like that. um it's important. So I think you guys really help out the media side, which is important, and authors need to know that. Yeah, that you make it work for both parties. So that's awesome. So thank
Oh,
you.
thank you so much. We're so excited to have known y'all as long as we have, and we can't wait for the
Yeah.
next 25 years of
Well,
working with Big Blend.
thank you. I know 25 years. I'm feeling a little, I don't know, man. I need to go back to the gym apparently, but I don't I only go on treadmills that have a cup holder for my wine. And that's why I can't get on a treadmill. It's like it's a problem. But thank you so much, everyone. Booksforward.com is the website to go to. It's linked up in the episode notes. Check them out. And from there, you'll also be able to find Books Fluent and forward them and follow them on social media. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio. Keep up with our shows at bigblendradio.com.